Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the HP Deskjet 3755. This is a $60 or $70 printer, depending on where you buy it from HP. Not that expensive, very compact, but it's also an all-in-one, so there is a scanning module built into this as well. And it's not the fastest thing, you can't do multi-page scanning or anything, but it's good enough to make a quick copy. And if you are a college student looking for a way to scan your notes in after class or something, this might be something worth looking at because it's not all that expensive. Now, I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in on loan from HP, so when we're done with this, it goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. All right, so let's take a closer look at the hardware real quick. There isn't much to look at, actually, because the printer is pretty basic. So this has got the standard low-end, slow HP printing mechanism that you find on other cheap printers. It's just got the two cartridges that are right now tucked behind the plastic here, the color and the black and white. So if you lose one of the colors, you got to replace the entire color cartridge. But one thing I do recommend checking out is the HP Instant Ink system. I covered this in another video. I'll put a link down below to that so you can get more information about it. There are circumstances, many circumstances actually, that I think this will save you a lot of money, especially if you are printing with any degree of regularity. What happens is you pay a monthly fee based on the number of pages you print, not the amount of ink that you consume, and the printer will then reorder new cartridges, and you pay a monthly fee based on the consumption that you're going to be using with it. And actually, if you look at it, it's a pretty good deal most of the time, especially for the kind of printing you might do with a printer like this. So I'll put some more info down below for that. There aren't much on the way of controls here on the top. You do have your copy buttons right here for making copies. This does support HP's web services, but I don't use that typically. I think if you're trying to print from over the internet, the Google printing system might be the better way to go. I'll put a link down below as to how you can get that set up on here. So it does support the Google stuff separately from the HP stuff if you're trying to print from a Chrome browser or a Chromebook. But if you do run into trouble, that button prints out the status page as to what's going on, and it has to do that because the display here is so tiny it doesn't give you much information. It does support Wi-Fi direct, so you can connect directly to the printer via Wi-Fi from a mobile device, but I often recommend just connecting it up to your Wi-Fi network directly, because what will happen is once you do that, all of the computers and tablets and phones and everything else in your house will see the printer and can print to it and also scan from it. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. It really does work quite well on both Mac OS X and on Windows 10. There are some buttons here for stopping and starting printing if you run into trouble with that. There's also an info button here if the printer is yelling at you and it wants to tell you something. You can print out another page to see what's going on with that. I don't think you'll be pushing that button too frequently, but it's there. On the back here, you've got a USB port if you do want to do a direct connection to your computer, and you have the power cord. There's no power brick. It's all integrated right into the printer here, so it is a pretty convenient little package here and not all that much room on your desk. So let's boot this thing up and see how it performs. All right, so we're going to start off by printing something here from my iPhone, and we've got both of these devices on the same Wi-Fi network. I'm going to print it out in black and white and just do the first page here. I'm in the Dropbox app right now, but using the iOS print mechanism. What's nice about this is that you don't need any special software. It just works with your phone. It will see it and be able to print to the printer as long as it sees it on the local network with it. So you can see how fast this comes out. Now, by default, it prints at the lowest quality setting, and this is the fastest this printer will print. So it does about 8 pages per minute in black and white, but the quality here isn't all that great, as you can see. It's not quite smudgy, but it's not all that sharp. So if you want to get a better quality image, you have to print it out in the fine setting, which takes it longer to print. So I did do a couple of color documents earlier. They take so long to print that I didn't think it'd be all that great of a video if you had to sit there and watch it print. But you can see in the low quality mode here, you get a lot of banding on the page. So when you switch it over to the higher quality mode, the images look a lot nicer. It uses more ink. It takes longer to print, but you do get a passable image here. I think that's good enough for schoolwork and that sort of thing. But this is not going to rival a printer that you're going to pay a couple $100s for. But remember, you're looking at 60 or 70 bucks, so we'll give it a pass. So a little slow on printing. Quality is not great in its basic draft mode, but it gets the job done and acts as pretty good, decent, basic transportation. Now we're going to take a look at how it scans. Now remember, the scanner on this printer does not support multiple pages at the same time. So you got to feed them in one at a time here, and I'll show you how fast that goes. And I figured it'd be kind of cool to check out their remote app here. So this is a free app that's available on iOS and Android. And again, because we have the printer on the Wi-Fi network here, it found the printer automatically. So I'll just go ahead and agree to the terms here and get it connected up, and I should be able to scan to it from here. Now, what's really cool about how these things work is that if you're on Windows or on the Mac and you have an application that supports scanning through those operating systems, it'll just show up on the network, and you can put documents into it, and wherever you are in the house, it'll scan from the printer over to your computer wirelessly, which is pretty helpful. Or, of course, you can use the thing here to do that. So I think this is the scan icon down here. I'm going to grab my test document here and feed it in, and we'll see how fast all of this goes. Now, I did find you have to be here at the printer to give the document a bit of a nudge, because it just kind of hangs off the side here, and if you're doing something thick and glossy like this, you will run into some trouble as you are scanning things in. So I'm going to click on the scan button here to get it going. This document might slip a bit as it's going through. It only does one side at a time, so if you want to do the other side, you got to flip it over and go from there. But it seems like it's going through a little better this time than it was before. The document was slipping when I had it in the other orientation as I was testing this earlier. So there we go. It is scanned in, and now the thing here is reporting that scanning is finished, and it's doing some processing. It'll do some auto cropping of the image here, and you can see what it looks like right side up here. So the scan quality isn't bad. It's slow, and it doesn't always do so well with big, thick, glossy documents like this, but it's good enough if you're looking for a quick scan or copy. You can get that done relatively easily. We can do a quick copy here too, so you can see how that works. We'll just load it back in here. I'm going to hit the color copy button and then hit the button up just once, and there we go. So it's going to scan in now. Once it's done scanning, it will start printing out that document. And one last thing that was pretty cool about this printer is that it has the web server that is on the more expensive printers as well. So many of the same networking features can also be found here. You can get at it by loading up the remote app and pulling up the IP address that you'll get of your printer on that app. You type that into your web browser like so, and you can do things like update the firmware, check out the estimated cartridge life that's remaining in your ink cartridges there. You can also go in and set up Google Cloud Print from here. And I did a whole video on this, which I'll link to down below. This is how you would get your Android phone or your Chromebooks attached to it. So you do have a lot of features, again, that you typically find on the more expensive devices. So that is the HP Deskjet 3755, and you should not expect a spectacular print or scan experience for its $70 price point. I wasn't, and that's why I'm not going to be too hard on what you just saw here, because this is really a basic low-end device, and it has some nice conveniences to it in that you can get all this functionality in something that is about the same size as a typical low-end printer. So I really like that you get the low-end printer along with the scanning functionality for, again, around 70 bucks or so. So not bad, especially for students who don't have a lot of room on their desk. You gain some functionality that your low-end printer that you might have right now doesn't give you for around the same price. Now, one thing to note is that the starter cartridges in here go very quickly. So I really only printed out about 4 documents in color here. Now, in fairness, these are high coverage documents. In other words, there's more ink on the page perhaps than I had with some of my black and white documents here, but the color cartridge is about halfway consumed already. So my tip to you is don't buy cartridges with this, because you'll probably double the price of the printer. Give the instant ink thing a try, because you do get a free trial. They'll send you some free ink cartridges to start with. If you don't like it, you can cancel it and you're good to go, and you can save some money in the process of getting this thing into your home or a small office environment. So give that instant ink thing a shot. I do think it's a better deal than buying the cartridges every time. And again, don't expect much out of this thing, but I do think they've put together a nice little device for what it is, provided you know what you're getting into. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.